Yeah, forgive me because I cannot remember where I was. I've been struggling trying to figure all this out, but I got another alternator off Amazon. It was like $71. The problem is this right here is where it bolts to the head here, and then the adjusting bolt goes down there. But if I leave it the way it is, my connections are way back to the back where I can't get at them. And if you loosen this 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts, not loosen them, but take them out, you can then turn these relative to each other. So you loosen this and you open this up. Now what you don't want to do is open it too far or the brushes pop out. So you see the way this protrudes over this part of the case. You just want to open this up far enough where that clears that, because if not, it'll hit here. So you come out far enough for this to clear. Okay, so now it clears. You see that? And I've turned it. But when you pry these apart, pry this part. Don't pry. You see the insulator right here in between the two pieces? Pry this piece away, not the other way. You just stick a screwdriver in here like this, and whatever it takes, just spread them apart. Okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit more information now. So again, this is a 3-wire, they call it a SE10 3-wire. And the reason they call it 3-wire is 1, 2, 3. And then right here, it's written 1 and 2. I think on some other alternators, it might be D1, D2. But anyway, so you have, when you get an if you're going to do a switch over like I'm doing, buy one of these plugs off Amazon. Again, this is off Amazon, this is off Amazon. Just look, when you plug this in, the white wire is the excite. So that's going to be where you're going to want to bring in 12 volts. That's when they turn the key on, you're going to want 12 volts to run into it. That excites. Exciting means without power, it can't do its job. It can't create the magnetic field. The red wire is the sensing wire. And again, it's sensing the voltage to know to turn on and off. So basically, this is the on and off switch with the internal regulator. Oh, and this is a ground. This is also a V groove alternator. I think that you can buy them with the belt drive. There's 3-wire and there's 1-wire. So basically, if you have a 1-wire, you're not going to use these connections. I haven't bought a 1-wire, but I think those connections aren't even there. It'll have a plug. But what I've read is the difference between a 3-wire and a 1-wire is on a 1-wire, you have to get it spinning with certain RPM to get it to start charging. With the 3-wire, you don't need to do that. Yeah, I'm just going to share some other things. So this one came from Amazon. I went to Napa to get one of these. Same thing, but it cost, with tax, $112. But what I did notice on that one, I took it back because I thought it was bad. But now that I've looked into this more, I think it was good. But anyway, what the problem I had with the one from Napa is, from the other one, for some reason, this connector was off or crooked or something. And I had trouble getting this thing in there. So anyway, that's a problem that buying from Napa doesn't, or buying from an auto parts store doesn't mean that they're going to be any better. Okay, so I got the sense wire going to here. Again, this is going to be the lead that also goes to the battery. But I want to talk about this some more. Again, if you've been watching my videos, I might have been giving out wrong information. So on my run stand, I had a runaway engine for two reasons. But one of them was that I needed a diode. A diode keeps the electricity from backfeeding. I guess they call it ghost voltage. After you turn it off, there might be some ghost voltage in here that keeps it running. So if you put a diode on there, the power can't run back. But what I've been finding out is when you put an idiot light in, that is taking place of a diode. So you don't need a diode if you have an idiot light. And I'll probably test that when I finally start this car. Okay, so now I have my lead that's going to run to the relay. When I say battery, I mean relay, because the relay runs to the battery. But I'm just going to put some tape around here just because I don't want this to somehow accidentally ground. Okay, so I put some tape on there just as a precaution, and one more piece of tape just to tidy it up a little bit to hold these two together. Oh yeah, there's one more problem. This hole here, that bolt will not slip through there. I need to drill that hole out bigger. Again, that's going to bolt to here. I think on a 289, that bolt is smaller, but if you, for some reason on the 302, it just needs to be bigger. I had the same problem over here with the pump. I had to drill out that and that. Okay, so I drilled it out. So I got a piece of paper on there, just a paper towel, stuck it in behind the fan blades. This is just a hair above 7/16. There it is reclocked. So there's the top of the engine basically. There's the bottom of the engine. And now I got my wires right over here on the fender well side. Yeah, one more thing. I'm always going to say that. One more thing. But, so again, I was talking about this grounding bolt. So this is going to bolt to the block. So what is the ground value right now? So I got it on ohms. See, notice the meter is off 1, so 0.1. So this is, anyway, this is really 0. Anyway, just note that, remember that reading right there. I'm going to bolt this on the car, and I'm going to see if I have the same amount going to, let's say, the battery or to something. So again, the more I work on these cars, the more I'm learning. But so let's see what it is. Again, the alternator is going to be touching right there. So what is the ground from here to the negative? What is the ground value? I'm on a negative cable. Let's touch somewhere else. Carburetor. Okay, you see that? I need to clean that off. So let's just touch here. Same thing. I need to clean this, clean that. Okay, so I cleaned I took the pan off of here and I took the pan off of here. Let's see if I did any good. Again, let's see if I can just check to the carburetor. I can. So checking a few spots. That's pretty good. Now how about here? You see, there's a problem. So the whole point of this is we got two choices here. So I put anti-seize on this bolt. So when I bolt it in, I'm not going to get a good ground. Also, yeah, I'm not going to get a good ground. The ground is going to be right on this surface here, but the bolt might not do hardly anything. Let's just stick this in here. It appears to be okay. So the second solution is don't count on these grounds. Run a ground from your alternator right down to your engine block here. Right where you get your ground coming up. You don't have to worry about all this stuff I'm just doing. This stuff is critical. If you buy one of these crimper things, there's no real directions. Well, there's some directions, but I don't think they're right. But basically, just get these dies and get the size that's going to crimp it. You can see it'll crimp it that much. So this is a 35. I don't know what 35 means. 35 millimeter. Let's see if they have a smaller one. 25. That looks like it's too much. So we're not going to use the 25, we're going to use the 35. Let's take this bolt out. Slide these dies out. Slide the other ones in. Put your bolt back in. You can see it's too big, so kind of preload it. Get it down smaller. Or else you're gonna have to, if you don't do this right now, you're gonna have to be trying to hold it and do that. This is a kind of an awkward thing. I suggest you clamp this down, but I'm not gonna do it. See, I should have slipped that through. Let me see if I can get it through there. No, I can't. So I'm going to release it. I'm going to start crimping it. Get it tight. Make sure it's held in spot. Held in the right spot. You can tell because this thing gets so hard you can't even push it. There you go. So I don't know how long I want this thing. Let me just, I'm going to figure it out. That's how you do it. That's tight. A little bit more. That's tight enough. Now I got a cable. So now I can put anti-seize on here. I don't have to worry about it. This stuff is a mess. In fact, you should put gloves on when you're working with this stuff. In fact, I'm gonna put gloves on because once you get this on here, you can't get it off your fingers. Okay. Remember, this thing is grounding. This is what's making power for the whole car. Perfect. Back to the battery cable. Perfect. Okay, what's going on here? Again, these books aren't written very good, but so here's the wire coming to the terminal that I just checked for 6 volts. But what's going on is right here, it splits. See, it says primary resistance wire. So it's splitting, it's right there, it's splitting to 6. This resistance wire is bringing us down to whatever I had, 6 volts. Because on the older, again, I've talked about this before, but I got more understanding. The older cars with points, at least Ford, this did not want more, the coil did not want more than 6 volts or 6 to 9 volts when the car is running. But when it's starting, when you crank it, somehow it bypasses and gives it 12 volts. But when it's running, as you see, I turn the key on, it's only 6. So I got a problem here. I got an electronic distributor now. I cannot have that primary resistance wire in here. I need to somehow bypass that. And it's a bitch to get up under the engine. But I want to show you something else. Okay, see if you can follow me. Again, I'm not that smart, so I got to really study things. Sometimes it takes a week. But so here's the fuse panel. This is a Ford fuse block. But on the back, if you look closely, there's a strip here. This battery only has 8 volts. Let me take off this ground and see what happens. I could swear that battery was 12 volts. So I'm going to charge it up and I'm going to hook up one thing at a time and see if something is dragging it down. Okay, I'm going to do a load test on this battery. You shouldn't be doing this unless it's 12 volts. But this top line is volts. So this should be going into the green. Except we know it's dead, so I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we know it's low. It should be way down into bad, I guess. You see that? Well, right now it's on weak. When I push the load test, it drops to 3 volts. Interesting, very interesting. Okay, I'm going to bring out my 1970. I remember buying this at an auto parts store. Right about 1973 or 4. I got another one, but this makes me happy using this old thing. So we're going to watch that needle. plus. It should jump way up. That's amperage. So it's pulling 3 amps, 3.5 amps, 4 amps. Four and a half amps, so it's trying to charge. So it's on 12 volts, 4 amps. So we'll come back tomorrow. Okay, it's the next day. It dropped down to 2 amps. Plug everything and see what we have here. 13.62. You know, I'm just curious. I want to put a load test on this. Okay, according to this thing, it's really, who knows if this thing really even works right, but we just saw it's 13 volts. Here it shows 11. It's on green. You can't see it, but there's amperage values in here. It's right about 425. So it's got 425 cold cranking amps. So here we go. Let's see. Hold down for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The battery's weak. Let's see what the volts are after I did that test. How much did it suck out of it? Still 13.27. But even though the voltage is good, it's weak. Okay, I got this problem solved, I think. So I put the alternator in. I put a ground to the engine at the same point where this meets the engine. So the ground off the stud in the back of the alternator. This is the turn the key on run wire that gets hot when you turn the key to the right once. This blue wire is running back over to where the old voltage regulator was. That's picking up the idiot light connection. So the idiot light, when you turn the key on, the idiot light wire gets hot. So I think the way this is going to work, I mean, at least I got the idiot light working in the dash. And the wire's not overheating. But I think the way this works, and I can't tell you for sure until I start the engine next week now. Oil pressure, sorry, this oil pressure is hot. This is hot, so I got 2 hot wires coming in here. But they're 2 different circuits. So the reason the idiot light goes on is because it's grounding into here. So once and I don't totally understand it yet, I'm going to keep doing research. But once this thing starts spinning, it loses its ground. So if it loses its ground, this idiot light should go off, because this hot wire now has no ground. I think that's the way it works. Now, the question in my mind is, if you have 2 hot wires, this is feeding back into here. But that's not a ground, if you follow that. I think this is right. So I think if I unplug this, that's the next test I'm going to do in a second. But I think if I unplug that, there's not going to be power there. There's going to be a ground. Does that make sense? That's my theory, but also over here, where the old alternator used to be. So I got a rag in here right now just to make sure nothing touches ground. Because ground is this case because it's going to bolt to the frame. But what I got going here is you got the red wire from the solenoid. Well, the battery goes to the solenoid and it comes over to here. It's on the, so it's basically hooked to the battery. So that's going into this terminal right here. These other two wires, again, there used to be a voltage regulator here. This yellow wire goes to the horn relay. So the horn relay is always hot, but it doesn't go off until you push the horn button. Then it clicks a relay and it lets the power flow through. The black yellow is the main power that goes to the fuse box. Without that wire running to the fuse box, the whole car is dead. Over here, I have the generator light coming in off this harness to here, and then on the blue wire, let me see. Yeah, the blue wire is on the other side of this, so hot, or connection. So the blue wire is, there's a plate here, so the blue wire is connected to the wire coming from the generator light and running over to there, if that all that makes sense. And this is the old regulator box, voltage regulator. I took all the guts out, and this is just where I'm making all my connections for all those wires that used to be there. So I'll show you the generator light works now. Okay, I had to go back and put the connection on the battery, but while I'm here, I want those gauges to get hot when I'm testing this engine. So again, here's the battery plus going to the solenoid with that wire going over to that box that I was talking about, but I put another connection in here. So there's a fuse, there's a switch, and there's a light. So this is going to be my power that powers up the voltmeter. Basically powers up the voltmeter. Again, this is complicated for me anyway, but so this is going to run over to the voltmeter, and then the voltmeter needs to be grounded. The tachometer, when I turn the key on, it gets power from this wire running back to the coil. I'll go over this a little bit more next week. So the only thing I need to hook up, so I need to hook up this power lead to the coil, and then I need to, there's a ground connection. I need to ground it because internally it's not grounded. The cables sticking out of the back are not grounded to the case. The case is grounded through the screws, so I just need to hook a ground wire from the connection to the case, and that'll ground it. Same with the tachometer. So, going back to the generator, see if the light goes on. Okay, I'm going to reach across to there's the generator light right there, or the idiot light. Turn the key on. It's on. Again, the reason it's going on is because the hot wire is running out of the fuse box to the generator light to a ground. It would not work if there wasn't a ground, which is kind of complicated to me. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to unplug that. So this wire is grounding. I want to unplug this and see what's going on. Is that in fact a ground? It should be. Okay, I'm going to do this with one hand. It's kind of a pain in the ass. So I got a test light. This test light, all it has is a ground and a point and a light. So if I touch the carburetor, for instance, again, we're hooked positive, it's given a path for electricity to run back to the battery. If I touch the case, same thing. If I touch that connector right there, same thing. So the other test is I'm going to go back and look at the light. The generator light should now be off. Okay, so the key's on, generator light is off. What confused me on all this is the excite wire, which is 12 volts. So I was thinking it was feeding at 12 volts. Well, it's actually grounding the 12 volts. Kind of confusing, and I still don't quite wrap my head around it. But the more I do this, the more I understand this electrical stuff. It's confusing. I might have showed this already, I can't remember, but first of all, I blew this, I enlarged this, so it's like 4 times as big, because I was having trouble following the wires. I kept losing my point. This cost $20, well worth it. But what's been bugging me for 6 months, because I didn't understand it. So this is the back. This is the back of a. You can see the '64 Galaxie fuse box that I had bought to play around with about 6 months ago. So there's a solid brass piece there, and there's one here. You can see that they're separate. And then there's a bunch of other wires. So the down at the voltmeter where I was showing you that, not the voltmeter, the old volt regulator, I was showing you that black yellow wire. This is it coming in from the battery, feeding this. And then it's going out through the fuses. And you can see each one of these little pins, these little rivets here are a fuse. So it's going in and it's going back out. So as many of these bumps there are, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. So the question in my mind that I didn't understand was, are these both tied together? There's only one wire running from the battery, and that's this one. So how is this side getting hot? It's not connected. So before I explain it to you, and again, if you already know, you know, and you probably think I'm an idiot, but the way this side is getting hot, there's only one hot wire coming in. They're not connected here. So how is it getting hot? So and this is the reason I needed this thing. So if you blow it up, the black yellow, let's see, there's the black yellow. I'm not going to trace it all the way. Here's the black yellow. It's coming out, and right here, it's splitting here and here. So right here, the first thing it does is it energizes the light switch. So you know your lights, you can always turn your lights on. Without the key switch being on. The next step, it goes to this side of the fuse panel and makes all these hot. But again, these are not connected. These are not connected. So if you keep following this, it's going to the key switch. So that's what's making the key switch hot. So if the key is not in the car, I mean, if the key is, yeah, if the key is not in the car, that's hot all the time. It's just waiting. So when you turn it, let me make sure I'm talking correctly. You got this black green. When you turn it, it goes to this black green. And the black green makes so again, now we have power to the black green. And this is splitting off. It's going to the generator indicator, the constant voltage, the oil pressure, the windshield wiper, and then it goes over to this side. Now the reason these are so basically these ones I just showed you are these wires that are coming out are now going back to the other side of these well, let's just say the oil pressure. So it's got a one wire coming in, a hot, going to the fuse box, and it's going back out to the other side of the fuse. But that's how it works. I might have not made it completely clear. And over here, this is where I used to have the regulator. So I got the power running from the relay. And then I'm running it to the horn relay. So I'm tying the hot to the relay, and the hot to here. Those three are tied together. Then the other two that I was showing is the oil pressure indicator is, let me see, it's white, red, or black, green. Anyway, it's one of these wires here. It's confusing, but it's right. And just to say this, if you're interested in doing this, even now you can see I was confused. So I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but I've got these off of Amazon. They're stickers. So if I start tracing the circuits again, the more you do this, I don't even know that I need these, but so I could put like a 1 here, for instance, and then a 1 to where it goes. And then pretty soon, if I kept doing it, I would know what every wire was. Because, for instance, the oil pressure indicator is, the hot oil pressure is a 1. The light instrument is a 2, 3, and so on. And then trace it back to here. And then if it goes further, you can trace it back to there. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, one more thing that can be confusing when you're doing this. I always say one more thing, but for instance, the wire that has the ballast resistor built in that is coming from the key, the ignition switch, it starts out as red-green, but it turns to pink. This pink wire is the ballast resistor wire. When you get over to here, it's pink, it goes into the firewall connection, but it comes out split into brown and red-green. So if we were using the number system, that 1 is actually a 1 and a 1 here. Very confusing, but it took me a while to get a hold of this. And I needed this because I'm old. As you get old, things get smaller, or your eyes aren't as sharp. So I think that's the end of this week's video. Next week I'm going to start the engine, I think. Finally. And if you're interested in wiring like I am, again, I'm retired. You got to find things to do that interest you. But whenever I run into a problem from now on, I'm going to run back to this diagram and I'm going to explain it if you're interested, if you get a 64 Galaxie. The other thing is someday I'm going to redo the wiring and I need to understand what I'm doing or else I'm an idiot. That's what I feel like. I'm an idiot. And lastly, if you're working on wiring, do yourself a favor. Disconnect the battery every night. That way, if something's getting hot, but it's not hot yet, you don't want this whole thing to burn down or fry. So I just do it every night for now. Until I'm done, I'm just going to keep doing it. I just keep the cables loose. I mean, they're tight when I put them on, but I never tighten them up with a bolt.